We one of these people, or were you one of these people? Anyways, how's everybody doing? Little Bengals to start the day with Walk Like an Egyptian. So we're traveling the world to Egypt. This is our fourth of six. So we're kind of entering the second half of our session here with the last three webinars of the year. So we're very happy to have you guys all here, and we're going to get right to it. If this is the first time you've been on one of our webinars, you have a little control panel. It's up in the top right-hand corner of your screen. There's an orange arrow. You can expand or contract that. Two important things. One, there's a section for questions or chat. I don't usually answer them as I go. I kind of answer them at the end, so I will leave some time at the end for the questions. But if you have any, just type them in there, and I'll be sure to see them and handle them at the end of the presentation. And then also there's a section called handouts. So as you know, if you've been on our webinars before, we do a little handout that has all the information you need about this particular promotions program. All right, so let's jump right into it. If you missed any of our earlier webinars, we did an overview back in January, I think it was, but that's a good way to get a good sense of all the different promotions the USPS is doing this year, what's changed from last year. And then we've already done tactile sensory interactive, earned value, and emerging and advanced technologies. You can find all those on dsguw.com/webinars. It's also on the handout, so the link's there, you don't have to memorize it. The next three, personalized color Transpromo, then informed delivery, which is a 4% discount this year in a longer period of time. So we're super excited about that. And then mobile shopping, which everybody loves because that's when we give away free stuff. So be on the lookout for those. It's funny, we actually have 10 summer interns working for us that are marketing majors at various colleges and universities, and I've challenged them to write some of the copy on the upcoming promotional emails. So if you have any feedback, they're nailing it. I'll tell you, they got our voice pretty quickly in there. They're doing a good job. So, all right, here we go. Personalized color Transpromotion. So the idea with the USPS, like with all their other programs, is they want you to mail more. So they're going to offer a discount if you use one of these techniques. And just like the rest of them, the technique itself has a lot more value than just the discount the USPS is offering. So in its base format, personalized color Transpromotional just means that if you're doing any sort of statement or invoice billing in color, and you can create a message to cross-sell, upsell, promote a loyalty program, or anything around that nature on that invoice or statement, you qualify for the discount. That's what trans-promotional advertising is. That's when somebody at the local pizza place buys an ad on your electric bill, for example. What we found is that the concept behind why trans-promotional marketing works so well is that people open and read things that look like bills and statements. So we've taken it kind of a little bit past the literal meaning of it to show you how you can actually use this strategy as a marketer to potentially increase your response. So what are the key elements of the program? Well, it's first class only. And the reason it's first class only is if you think about that this is technically only for invoices or statements, they have to be first class, right? There's personal identifiable information on those or PHI on those, so you need to run it first class. You can't do standard mail. Has to be an intelligent mail barcode, full service mailing. You're probably already doing that. Also has to contain a full color personalized or consumer message as an on statement or an on insert. So on insert is kind of a tricky way to say it's not an insert. So instead of an insert going into the envelope, it's actually an on insert, which means the message is occurring on the actual statement or invoice. And it can be, again, rewards or loyalty program incentives, renewal offers or incentives, any other promotions based on your existing relationship with that particular person, supplementary or complimentary products or services, cross-selling, upselling. This discount also went up this year, so that's good. It's a 3% discount on the postage rate for 2022, which helps out a lot. Some key dates, registration's already started. The program actually kicks off July 1st. It runs all the way through to the end of the year, so you've got plenty of time to participate in this. Like the other programs with the USPS, you can't piggyback, so you can't do personalized color Transpromo and at the same time use some tactile sensory interactive technique and get a double discount, but you can run it as many times as you want during the period, so you can do multiple campaigns. We like the discounts because it's funny, I was doing this preparation for this, and I always go off of last year's content and update it with new stuff. And last year, I think, was the first time we saw, at least in my career, one of these summertime postage increases. And I was like, that's really stinks on the USPS's part. They usually do it in January, but they got to get a summer one in. Hopefully it doesn't continue. Well, like anything else, what did my dad used to say? This year's benefit becomes next year's right. So that's kind of what the USPS has done, right? They figure if you could do it once, you could do it twice. You do it twice, you make a habit of it. So I guess they're going to give us summer increases every year now. This one's not small either. So you're going to see an email and a blog post from us probably in the next week or so about the postage increase with some more specific details and a data sheet. But you're looking at a 6.2% increase for first class automated letters, 1 ounce or lower, and that's mixed AADC. So the increase varies depending on how saturated your mail list is, but 6.2% is real. That's not an insignificant increase. And if you're doing marketing mail, standard mail, bulk mail, whatever, that mixed AADC is going up almost 6% there as well. So the 3% that you're going to get on this program helps, but man, that's tough to swallow for anybody. So we're hoping that this stops soon, but it's all part of their 10-year plan to return to profitability. But participation in this program or any of the other programs is more important now than ever. Okay, so as I talked about, this is really what trans-promotional marketing is all about. So this is kind of a sample of a phone company, fake phone company, and you get your phone bill, and then at the bottom they're saying, okay, we've got a plan so you can send 400 texts a month. I think I can update this. I don't think anybody's paying for SMS texts separately from their cell phone plan. But anyways, you get that for $6. And then over here you have more of a statement look. So this is a statement, checking account statement. So the statement's already being done in color, and then down here we're cross-selling Paul into the credit card. So you want to apply for the credit card? So what I always say is if you're currently producing invoices or statements and you're producing them in color, then this is a no-brainer because you're already in a digital variable data environment just by the nature of what you're doing. And adding these messages is not going to increase your costs at all from what you're currently doing. The challenge is, and this isn't in every company, but in a lot of companies, there's a little bit of a disconnect between marketing, who wants to promote and cross-sell and create these opportunities, and finance, who's maybe in charge of issuing these statements and invoices. And getting those two teams together to make this happen is probably going to be the biggest challenge you have in this promotion. But if you can do it, it really makes a lot of sense because these get opened. Trans-promotional marketing is one of the highest response rates out there because everybody's looking at bills and statements that come in the mail if they still get them in the mail. And you know what? If they don't get them in the mail and you're not printing them, you won't get a discount. But why not do the same thing for your electronic statements and invoices? If somebody's offered to sign up electronically, that's even easier. So you can cross-promote and cross-sell because those also get opened, right? People want to look at their activity and things of that nature. So I highly encourage you to investigate trans-promotional marketing. So I'm waiting for the new info trends report. They usually do it every 3 years. They're a little bit behind because of the pandemic, but this data still, I think, is going to be pretty close. At that time, 69% of bills and statements were still mailed in 2018. My guess is we're probably around 60% now. Most experts are saying it's never going to drop below 50% from what they can see, at least in the next 5 to 10 years. So I think eventually it will. But most of the people out there believe they should have a choice, and we're actually starting to see a trend more towards mail because of privacy and trust issues, which in this particular study, the info trends did, that was the #1 reason, even though 25% of the people, but it was still more popular than any other reason of why they chose to receive bills and statements in the mail was privacy and trust. And there's certainly not a decreasing challenge in terms of privacy and trust in email and also social and the internet. We know that that hasn't gone away, and in some cases it kind of seems to be getting worse. But the benefit of this is that 95% of statements and invoices that do get mailed get opened, and that's not the same as our direct mail pieces that we're doing now. So it's a really, really great piece of real estate to be able to do some marketing on if you can pull it off internally with your company. The other reason it works so well, and again, InfoTrends is going to give me some new numbers here shortly, is that you're competing against a lot less traffic. So back in 2018, the average American was getting 728 email hits per week for direct marketing and only 30 for direct mail. So I always say, would you rather be one of 728 trying to get somebody's attention or one of 30? I think for me, I'd rather be one of 30. The other thing is just the behaviors alone. Only 18% of people review all of their email accounts on a daily basis, and most of us have at least 3 of them. You know, we have our business one and maybe a couple of personal ones, but 77% of people review traditional mail. So I just read a study 2 nights ago that I will actually, you know what, I will post that when we do the postage blog email. You guys will all get that because you found out about this, so you found out about that. But it talked about whether millennials and Gen Z are actually going to save the mail stream. It was really fascinating. So you got to think, we think of millennials as the younger generation. They're 40, right? So they're in the they're right in the mix of it with us now. And actually, the oldest Gen Zs are 24, 25 years old, so they're already entering the workforce. So what's exciting to me is, you know, we have, I mentioned these 10 summer interns that we have. They're all marketing major schools all over the country. How excited they're getting about learning about what we do as an industry or as a business, but also how we are starting to integrate electronic and digital experiences with the ink on paper side of it. So this particular study talked about the importance of mail as it relates to millennials and Gen Zs. And the USPS did this as well back in the middle of the pandemic. They said, what's happening with mail? How can we track this thing? And their data set showed the same thing a couple of years ago, that 49% of millennials at that time said mail was more important today than it was 3 years ago. So it's still less than half, but it's way more than the other generation. So that's pretty exciting for us in terms of a direct mail side, because it still is a technology and a technique that works very, very well, particularly if you can integrate it with some sort of a digital response, which is what gets us excited about it. It shouldn't be ignored. It's a nice complementary strategy. So this is another study that's been around for a while, and I keep waiting for some data to refute it, and it hasn't. So we use this with a lot of our clients in terms of helping them design the direct mail campaign and what the right outer envelope should look like, depending on what the objective is. So when you think about direct acquisition of customers, these are typically people that may know your brand, but they don't necessarily know specifically who you are. They're not doing business with you now. The problem with email is that you're probably like me, where if you get an email from someone, a company, and you don't necessarily know them, it comes through without any of the images, and it asks me if I want to download the images, and I usually don't. I usually just delete it. So we're spending all this money with our agencies and our creative folks to design these pretty emails, and most of the time, the people that we really want to see them, which are our people that are not customers right now, if it's a direct acquisition campaign, they're never even seeing that super cool creative. So that's where direct mail actually has a much better response rate for new business acquisition, but it's got to be done right. So this study was done by Clemson about 7 years ago, actually. And what they did is they did all these different outer packages, from a 6x9 window, handwritten envelopes, FedEx package, poly bags, self-mailers, personalized postcards, everything you can think of. And they track the response rate, and they also track the cost to come up with a cost per response, because it's not about either of those, right? You can get a very low cost and get no response, and you throw your money away. You get a very high response rate, but pay a fortune to either ship these things out like in a FedEx package or something like that. And overall, your cost per response is much higher than other channels. So we took this data and plotted it kind of like Gartner does with the Magic Quadrant. If you're not familiar with the Magic Quadrant, that's what this four square here is. And the Magic Quadrant is the top right one. So in our model, you have response rates going from high to low, and you have costs going from high to low. So where you don't want to be is down here, a very high cost and a very low response. Surprisingly, that's where like a personalized self-mailer 4-pager lives. One of the problems with personalization on self-mailers is that people don't really have to interact with it to figure out what's going on with it. And interaction with direct mail is what causes response rate to go up. So we typically see a higher performance with things that are going into some sort of an outer package, like an envelope or a parcel or something like that. So that's why you have a lot more of the higher open rates here. Now there's an exception. If you have a giveaway and you're giving people something for free, the response rate goes up. It's not because of your postcard, it's because they're gonna get something for free, but we don't really care. We just want them to respond. The only one that fell into the Magic Quadrant, which was a very high response rate and a lower cost, was a 6x9 window envelope. So it had a total cost per response of just shy of $18. You can see the 6x9 color is just right outside of that. Why is that? Because a 6x9 window envelope looks important, so people will open it. We're not talking about trying to trick people, but at the same time, we want them to interact with our piece, and by providing something like a 6x9 window envelope where they are much more likely to open it, that's 60% of the way to getting a response to your direct mail. So we've shared this with a number of customers. We've had a couple customers beta test and A/B test kind of a trans-promotional looking piece, even though it's not a statement or an invoice. Here's an example. I keep sharing this because this is it's significant, and you probably don't remember it if you were on the webinar last year, but it was basically taking what was normally just a direct mail letter, and the first step was we made it look more like an invoice or something important. So the bottom one there is where we kind of added the time-sensitive information and close. We changed it to that size that you get in like the fundraising packages where a check fits nicely in it, more of a invoice type envelope size, and the response rate went up. So then we actually made it into a number 10, changed it to a black thing, and put a stamp on it. So if you're like me, when I get direct mail, no matter how important it looks, I look at the indicia, and if it says marketing mail or standard mail, I know it's not important. So we use the standard mail stamp instead. So now people like me can't tell whether it's really important or not because it's first class or not. And then what we did is we actually skewed the stamp a little as it was being applied. We just skewed the application device at the end of the inserter. And at the end of the day, they were getting a 6% response, and it was a 57-cent mailer. It's not an expensive mailer. It's a black and white piece in an envelope, a converted envelope, really, really cheap stuff. And that gives you a cost per response of $9.50, which is half almost of what the 6x9 window was. This is just a graph of how this piece performs and continues to perform in this particular customer's suite of campaigns. They do postcards, flyers, 4-panel self-mailers, all personalized. And this is also representing a whole bunch of different cities: Philly, Chicago, Dallas, LA, New York, Washington, DC. And this is the response rate for this particular piece that I just showed you. And these are the response rates for everything else. And they're kind of running average, just under 2% on direct mail response. But this one's just off the charts. So if you're doing direct mail now, work with your account executive to try to test out either 6x9 window or maybe something that looks like a trans-promotional piece, and see if you don't get a better response on it and if it works. All right, so that's it. See, 18 minutes and 57 seconds, got you right on time. And I'm going to check now to see if I have any questions in the audience. You guys really got the concept. No questions, nothing else. So I'm going to leave you now. I hope to see you at Informed Delivery and Mobile Shopping as we go through the summer here. And we're planning another kind of part of our response optimization webinar sometime in the fall, which will be focused around Web 3.0, Metaverse, NFTs, what's happening with marketing, and how in the world are we going to be able to keep up with all these changes. So great to see you all, and enjoy the rest of your day.